promises kept, baby. I'm like, he killing the game right now. I gotta give it to him 1,000%. So anybody that's mad and you voted for him, this is what he said he was gonna do. Why are you surprised? I mean, I got people in my family. I'm upset about the gas prices. I'm like, I am thoroughly confused right now. This is what he said he was going to do. I mean, here it is. And they're like, I didn't think about that. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, you're bad.
What's going on, everybody? It's Anthony from Blunt Force Discussion and, all the different things. Truth will set you free, awake not wool clothing, yada, yada, and yada, yada. Thank you guys for joining as usual, especially the WeBeam crew. I know that audience is growing, so thank you. I think we're 20,000 plus strong on that. And if you're watching on YouTube, that means I'm probably in the comment box with you. This episode is airing right around the end of August, so some of the stuff, it's still going to be relevant because the economy is changing day after day after day. But at the same time, we all know what the situation is, and that's pretty constant. We've got a specialist on this episode that's going to talk. Oh, did specialist too much?
No, that's all good.
Okay, it's all good. All right. We have an investor, entrepreneur, former candidate for Texas House, somebody that wanted to actually get involved and create change in the local communities. Ladies and gentlemen, LaDale Bugs.
What it do, y'all? It's your partner. I'm in the building. What's up?
You have a lot more flavor than I do. The matching, you got.
Hey man, I look better than you. It's okay, man. Accept the reality.
The orange. How is it? And we're going to go straight to race. We're going to pretend like we're Democrats. How is it that black dudes always know how to perfectly match the color of their hat with some other accent on their wardrobe?
Talk to Jesus about that, man. He gave us some type of innate trait to understand color coordination. It's all good, baby. Accept the finest of what you see. It's all good, baby.
It's even the rhyming too. Innate in every trait.
Come on, baby. Talk to your partner.
LaDale, you've got you've been on a couple of our shows. The Truth Will Set You Free. Always have fun talking to you. You were on the Roe versus Wade episode, so you're the second or the first person to make it for a second episode.
I feel honored.
First person to return. But I had Yaku Boyens on a couple weeks ago, so you are not the first African American.
It's all good. I look better than him though. It's okay.
Do you consider yourself African American?
Man, I consider myself a person, but if you want to, I can be a black person, no problem.
Okay, because him and I talked about it, because I said technically you're the first one in studio that's African American. Obviously, he's white, but again, he's from South Africa. So
I'm a black man.
I said Officer Tatum technically was at first. He's like, I love Officer Tatum, but Officer Tatum's a black man.
Sure.
He's like, I am from Africa. I was like, you know what? This is a conversation I don't know if we can go down. It's so confusing.
Good, I'm a black man. Let's go.
All right. So let's talk. Obviously, you do a lot of different stuff. You own a bunch of real estate. Yeah. Very successful investor, and I want to get into that. But first, you know what? Let's start with that because then I want to go back to your upbringing because I want to know how you got to this place. So what do you do for the most part? What is your day-to-day work?
Well, I'm in real estate development and finance. What that kind of means is I own a lot of real estate. And so whether it be SFR, single-family residences, whole subdivisions, apartment complexes, I typically buy properties below wholesale, increase the value, and then, of course, increase the rents to make sure it meets the market value. And I collect a pretty hefty amount of return on an annual basis. So that's what I kind of do.
And do you subscribe to the whole cash out refinancing, kind of like the Grant Cardone school?
Sure. Yeah. I love that when it's properly positioned because it's not taxed at all. So I can literally pay zero in taxes and make millions of dollars. Yeah.
Can you? So that's for people that aren't some of the followers of the Grant Cardones of the world. Can you explain how debt is a good thing?
Well, if debt is behind something tangible that you can increase the value on and pay lower in taxes, it's great. You got to be careful with debt because some people get debt and just don't have good stewardship principles. So you have to be able to steward debt the proper way. In other words, if I buy a property for $100,000, so to speak, and it's worth $200,000, I can increase the value to the point where I can refinance up to 75%, was about 150, 160, whatever. Maybe I don't have a calculator in front of me. 150. So I've netted $50,000 in profit, but that's debt.
Yeah.
So the new debt paid off the old debt.
So you're making that money and you're not taxed on it.
Talk to your partner, yeah.
Can you explain what a cash out refinance is?
Well, cash out refinance is what you kind of do is you owe said debt And what you want to do is you want to either get a lower rate, so to speak, or you want to just take on some profit to pay off some bills. This is more on the personal end. What you can do is you can actually refinance a property if the value is there to pay off your old debt, and then that arbitrage difference there, that's not taxed at all.
Yeah, and I know I recently learned that, and this is more on higher end real estate or multiple well, not even multiple units. It's
Sure.
just you could do it on a single family home technically,
Sure.
especially with what has happened right now in the market is somebody bought a $250,000 house 5 years ago, and that house is now worth $500,000, and they need money for either repairs or if they maybe want to take it and invest someplace else. You know, if the economy starts going to where we think it might, and then get something pennies on the dollar, do you suggest people look into that for single family homes?
It depends on the rate. If you're paying a good rate right now, does it make sense for you to refinance and take some additional capital, which is fine, at a higher rate? Can you actually stomach that monthly payment? So it really depends on what the goal is. You can't prescribe a solution without understanding what your goal is, the end is.
Got it.
I would look at that.
So say somebody sees a property that they need to, maybe it's a duplex.
Sure.
Right? Not going to probably be doing multiple unit stuff, but a duplex. You got two.
Sure.
And they see a really good opportunity to buy. They can handle a higher monthly payment. And they're looking, where can they start getting some passive income and building wealth? Is that something that you think would qualify? And I know the rate difference. So say they were paying 3%, and we're not going to get heavy in amount.
Sure,
But say they were paying 3%, and now it's 5 or 5.5%. And they know that their daily job is enough to stomach that extra amount of money. Is that something that you would suggest that people look into?
If they actually have a strategy to do with the actual net cash that they're going to receive at the closing.
Yeah.
If you have no plan, don't do it.
Got it.
Now, what plan should you do? What I would do is if someone's netting $25,000, $30,000, $50,000, I wouldn't risk that money into the bank. I would actually get that money and put it into a life insurance policy. Now, why would you put it there? Well, in that environment, you're actually making a 7 and 10% compound interest return tax-free. Then what you can do is, if it's properly positioned, rather that life insurance contract, you can borrow up to 80% of that, and then put that into your bank account, which is great. So now what's happening is you're not placing your money into an environment where it's making less than 1% in the bank. It's actually originated and began in a life insurance contract where it's making 7, 10% compound interest return, if that makes some sense.
How is that tax? So I always know Roth IRAs, they're tax-free, right? How is it that life, because I have life insurance policies too.
Sure.
And I haven't, those are investments for me,
Sure.
but those investments go into my Roth IRA. So you max that out at 50, whatever, I think my age, 6,000 a year or something along those lines. So how is it that life insurance policies in that 7 to 10% growth, which you can pull out at certain times without penalty because you're borrowing against it, how is that non-taxed?
Well, because of the fact that, consult with your CPA. So I'm not a financial advisor or an accountant. So what's happening is whenever you are getting a life insurance contract, you are acquiring insurance. The key word there is acquiring.
Okay.
So when you acquire, that's an expense, right?
Right.
So now you can't tax an expense. So now what's happening is you just moved your money from the bank account over to an acquired insurance, life insurance policy. Now, after you acquire it, can you continue to dump money into it? Sure, you can. It has to be positioned the proper way. And consult with a licensed life insurance agent to kind of let you know how that has to be structured.
Got it.
But it's how you actually acquire the insurance and how you begin to park money. So you can use an insurance contract as an investment tool. It's literally a contract.
Interesting.
That's all it is.
Okay, but the profit margin, if you ask your CPA, technically so you're borrowing against what you've put in while you're making profit on the top.
That is correct.
The profit, someday, if you want to cash it all out, you're paying tax on that.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It depends on how it's actually structured, because if it's structured the proper way, how I normally use it, the death benefit pays all that back.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it depends on how it's structured. So that's why it's very important for you to get a wise financial advisor.
Who do you go to?
It's a guy by the name of Bidentflation Ford.
Bidentflation Ford?
With Thrive Wealth Solutions. I introduced you to him.
Okay.
Wise individual. He knows more about life insurance than most people on the street.
Yeah.
does, and he can break
I
down.
would hope so.
He'll break down the IUL whole life comparison. He's all about advising. There's another guy by the name of Mario Delgado. He's another guy. Both of them are local.
Okay.
But
Local to
both
Texas
of them are
area,
local.
Dallas
But
area.
Deontay and Mario, they know what they're talking about.
Got it.
1,000%.
And I'm sure, and if you're watching from a different part of the country, a lot of these guys know each other, know a network. Find somebody that's got good review. That's a great question, actually. How would you recommend somebody look for a financial advisor?
Get referred to someone by someone you trust.
Got it.
Don't just go online and look for one because you're gonna fall for any Joe Blow.
Yeah.
And so for me, people come to me. People only come to me when they're referred to me, because I want them to come via a trusted source. Now you can find me online. That's fine, but most likely I like that referral process because someone is referring you to someone that they actually trust.
Yeah. Absolutely. So obviously, I don't think you said it. Do you actually talk about the actual number you have invested in real estate right now? What your current level is?
It's between 35 to 40 million plus.
It's awesome. How many units does that include? Ballpark.
Probably near 100 plus units.
Gotcha. Well, people, if you guys don't know out there, when it comes to real estate investing, what is it called? Multifamily units. It's not a like braggart thing. Like, oh, I've got 200 million worth. I've got 42 million worth. It is actually a gauge on how much, essentially, your playing power.
Sure.
If I were to come to you and say that, I've been doing real good. Take me in as an investor, and you say, what's your number? It's not me blowing hot smoke when I say like 5 million, because that's literally the very beginning of entry into real estate investing.
Yeah.
So next question is going to be your upbringing, but with the economy the way that it is, with the housing market being as weird as it is, do you believe that real estate investing is still the way to go right now?
Yes, because of the fact that whenever you're investing in real estate in a inflationary happy type of economy, which is what we're in now, what benefits? Real estate. Yeah. I've made records in the amount of money on my rents that we collect, as well as the values have went up, skyrocketed up, period. Mm-hmm. Now, it really depends on your strategy. I don't really target any luxury homes. I target those lower tiered homes, $300,000-$400,000 homes as far as the after repair value. Yeah. Because I do that because of the fact that there's going to be a very little correction there. But places like Austin, you're going to see a 50% correction in Austin. Houston, same 50%. This is my opinion. Yes, yeah. 30% in Dallas, because everyone is flocking to those major metropolitan areas. From California, New York, Washington State, Oregon, they're flocking there. Where they're not going to? They're not going to the Killeen, Texas, the Temple, Texas, the Waco, Texas, the Starkville, Mississippi, the Madison, Mississippi. The reason why is that's middle America. That those lower areas. Those are attractive to me.
I agree, and here's the thing. I can tell you my opinion based on the way prices are going, and I do agree. I think there's going to be a leveling off. I don't know if I think 50% is high. You probably know more than me. I think that might be a little bit high, but regardless, there is going to be a leveling off. Oh yeah. I don't see that happening in the smaller towns, and I think Waco is starting to get. It's a pretty bigger town. It's right outside of Austin, essentially. But when you're looking at the land values, just outside of Fort Worth, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and this is, I'm sure, like this in a lot of other places, Kansas, Oklahoma, these have just been going up steadily and steadily and steadily. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, when people are leaving these other places across the country, they're going to go there, and they're going to see that as an attractive property. Yeah. And as the recession hits, whoever has money is going to pay the same dollar for those as before, in my opinion.
Well, for me, I like buying a sale. And so what I kind of see is when there's inflation, you have cost of living going up, cost of goods going up. That's going to really start to make the people's pockets kind of tight. Yeah. Some folks are like, we can't pay these mortgages anymore. That's right for me. Yeah. So I'll come in and I'll get it for wholesale. Yeah. Below wholesale. And then I can monetize. We're talking about whole subdivisions.
So would you say right now you look at the places that are still on the rise if you're looking to invest, and then in a few months, a year, 2 years, you start looking back into the Austins, back into the Dallases when they're pennies on the dollar?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it is about timing. It is definitely real estate is a big time timing game.
But I make money in up or down economies.
Yeah. That's the key. And that's what I've heard about real estate people, because you guys diversify the best. Sure. Yeah. So you are where are we at? Okay. So how did you get into real estate investing? How were you raised?
Okay.
Because again, I think a lot of people go, well, I was raised poor. How do I get into real estate investing?
Sure.
All of a sudden, we have 42 million in properties.
Yeah, well, for me, I was raised poor as well. I was raised in I had a biological father who left me at 3. And then my mom remarried when I was 6 years old, and to my current father now. And so I was raised in a 2-family home. But we were lower tier middle class. We're talking about like damn near poor. And so for me, I didn't know anything about budgeting. My mom and dad didn't teach me about budgeting, credit, business, nothing. It wasn't until I was sitting with my Uncle Gary, who's still alive to this day, he mentioned to me something called passive income. And I said, what is that? He said, something that you do one time, but you get paid over and over and over again. And I said, I want to learn how to do
Sign me
that.
up.
Why am I going to college for?
Do this.
And so I began to just unpack, okay, how do you begin to generate passive or residual income? I looked at business models, real estate. I studied Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, Sean Puffy Combs, 50 Cent, Jay-Z. I began studying these business titans. Bob Johnson, who used to own BET, Michael Jordan as well. And I said, okay, how are they doing this? And all of them, whether it be people that own NBA franchises, other media companies, they had one thing in common. They all had real estate. And I said, okay. And so I began to kind of look at real estate. I made the bulk of my money initially, and then between 2008 and 2011, when that first debacle happened, I made a ton of money then.
Yeah.
Because everybody was flocking away, I was running too.
What's the adage when it comes to investing? Be greedy when people are scared, and be careful when people are greedy. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Be scared of people. Yeah,
Yes,
I butchered
Warren
that, but we
Buffett.
got it. Yeah.
Warren Buffett, yes, sir.
So so at what age did you start your first investing? And did you end up going to college?
Oh, yeah, I did. I have my college degree yesterday.
Where'd you go?
University of Phoenix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
I began at UC Dallas, played basketball there, and then I got into business.
Yep.
I said, you know what? University of Phoenix is more of a business-oriented school, and it really kind of met my business schedule.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and I actually learned a lot more in that environment than I did at traditional university.
That's funny.
One of my professors he actually ran a marketing company that actually ran all of McDonald's TV commercials, all of them.
Wow.
So we got to go through all those different analytics of what they were marketing to a Caucasian audience,
And all online.
No, actually at their campus.
Really?
Yeah, at their campus. They had a Dallas campus, and I just learned a ton.
Oh yeah, they did. I actually activated an event in their parking lot one time for University of Phoenix. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I learned a ton. That guy was wise. Golly. Who would exercise? He would come in and drop a magazine and says, "What's the marketing pitch here?" And the whole class had to figure out what it was.
That's funny.
And it was a great exercise.
It's always nice to have, and this is not the way that most professors are, unfortunately. It's always nice to have professors that are also in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
So, because a lot of professors in this day and age are professors of being a professor and talking about other people in the real world.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you get, and it's a game changer, and obviously you're here
is.
to prove that.
For sure.
So when was your first, when was your first investment? Do you remember it?
I was maybe 24 years old.
Any job before that? What were you doing for jobs before that?
I worked for the Xerox Corporation.
Okay.
So I was an outside account executive for them. So I was doing door-to-door business sales, selling copiers and document management solutions. It was fun. It was hard work, though.
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself.
I do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, you have to be very creative.
And you got to know how to close.
Yes, you do.
Otherwise, you are eating a lot of ramen noodles.
Yes, you are. Low salary, high commission, Jeff.
So what was do you remember the amount or anything about your first real estate deal?
Oh, the first deal I made was $3,500.
$3,500.
Yeah, and I thought I was the man. I was the man, bro. The second deal was 10.
So you made $3,500.
Yeah.
You didn't invest $3,500. Well,
No.
what was it?
It was a subject to transaction. So basically what that is you actually, someone is behind on their payments. You come in and take over the payments for them. And what I did was I was able to sign that contract over to another investor for $3,500.
Oh, interesting.
So I had no money in the deal at all.
That's
So I
super
had a
interesting.
net gain of $3,500.
Wow. All right. Because I want to talk about my cousin is commercial industrial real estate in New Jersey. I want to talk about his first deal from what I remember it.
Sure.
We'll talk about that right when we get back. First, we're going to do our first ad break. Ladies and gents, Monate has been a fantastic help on the show. And if you can't, so I didn't wear a hat. You guys have seen the episode I did with LaDale the first time. I didn't wear a hat. The only other time, typically I wear my BFD hat, which will be coming on after this. But I want to show the hair is looking night and day difference. If you don't know, I'm very balding, and it's luscious.
We can't tell.
No, it looks fantastic. So if you go to bluntforce.mymonate, MONAT.com, you learn a little bit more about it. They do more standalone testing than anybody else. They do third-party testing. The products are natural. They are vegan, cruelty-free, et cetera, which a lot of times scares away typical hairdressers and hairstylists until you actually use these products. They are not cheap, but if you were to tell me what I'd spend on it and my hair was actually going to feel like this, like I didn't even shower this morning and it looks bad. This is not typical for me. I'm being dead serious. Also, if you want to ever be a part of this company, their culture is second to none. They treat their people as a top priority in their compensation plan. If you make this a second business, not exactly passive income, but kind of if people keep paying for it.
Sure.
It is. They're the only ones that do 50 cents on the dollar back to their people, and of course they're testing their products and spending all the money on it. They do well. They've done $2.3 billion in sales, so you can assume how much in compensation. So again, go to bluntforce.mymonate.com. Show up, but it's on it. I finally looked at the prices because I kind of got hooked up, and I'm like, well, it's worth it. But less is more.
Yeah.
I found that out too. I don't need to use much. I put a little bit, that's like a 2-month supply.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have any hair, right?
No, I don't.
I wouldn't if
No, I don't.
Truth, I've had 2 hair transplants.
No, nothing wrong with that, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I saw a couple news guys from was it one of Newsmax at CPAC? Somebody's walking around. I saw the line in the back of the head.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that, brother.
Yeah, sometimes got to get it done. But now I can't shave my head, unfortunately, because I don't look as good bald as you do, though.
Hey, man, I just look better than you in all facets of it, man. It's okay.
I'm about to put a hat on now. So
hey, man, it's all right. We'll see who looks better. Y'all, hey, let us know who looks
all right,
better.
put it in the chat.
Who look better? It's me. I understand. Look at me.
You got yours. I got a copy.
Take the picture.
All right. There's you. There's me. Hold on. There, I got it like LaDale. Oh man! All right.
Good,
so back. So the cool part is I do know a little bit about real estate. So my cousin, there's like classes on him. His name is Larry Russo. His son has taken over the business.
Okay.
Eddie Russo in New Jersey, North Jersey.
Yeah.
Actually, they own the building that after 9/11, I think it was J.P. Morgan had to run to because their backup servers were there. So they were covered in soot running from downtown to get out. So they own some big properties out there. His first property, and I remember golfing with him. People are always like, you're related to Larry Russo? Like when I meet girls from New York City back in the day, I'm like, well, we go golfing together. I don't get to see any of that money, but I've gone to some great golf clubs because of it. Never forget the first time we went golfing. I showed up in jean shorts and a T-shirt. I mean, I was a poor white kid. Like I was some white trash a little bit, and he's like,
"It's all good.
That's not going to work." And we got all changed, and he dressed me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we talked, and and it was right when I was starting to get old enough to start looking into my own businesses. And he's like, "No, you can't start a business anymore the way that I did." I was like, "How so?" And I did soon after. I started a $1 million business afterwards, but it with no credit. Mm-hmm. So he told me, he goes, "So what I did." And forgive me if I'm making if I'm wrong on the story a little bit, but he essentially took out a loan. He got approved for a loan as a young 20-something-year-old to buy a building, and he definitely could not afford the payments on it, but he managed to sign, I believe at the time it was Chase or JP Morgan at the time, to a 99-year lease in that building. Immediately paid for it, and then just property after property after that. But he's like, then people did, I think he did multiple in that month when people weren't tracking everything and stuff, and he was able to just fire off, and that's how he got started. And then he had hundreds of millions of dollars worth of industrial. He did have to go bankrupt a couple times. Yeah. That's part of the business. One of your businesses does. He had a city commissioner, listen to this, city commissioner at the time did not like him because he wasn't greasing his palms. It's Jersey. It was in the 80s. He's used to the mob guys giving him money, and my cousin Larry was like, I don't do business like that. I do it. I'll pay my fees, and I'll respect everybody. And he ended up deeming it a marshland, which means you can't build on it. And he spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the land. Couldn't commercialize it, couldn't build it. The guy died. Once he died, it automatically gets locked in for 10 years. Couldn't do anything with the property.
Wow.
Crazy. Anyways,
Wow.
that was just that's my little tidbit of story in real estate, and I do want to get back into it. My girlfriend and I talked about it forever.
Sure.
But, so you talked about your upbringing, got into it, you got into investing. We're going to talk politics shortly.
Sure.
I want to talk about kind of the elephant in the room that I think is, I always talk about how do we inspire, and the movie Uncle Tom I think is a great explanation. How do we inspire black youth that they're not victims and that they can change the world with themselves, they can change the world around them and become an investor, become an entrepreneur. So what would you say to the thought process that it's harder to become a black entrepreneur, a black investor?
I would disagree with that sentiment. Now, I have to be sensitive to understand that a lot of African-American youth begin behind the eight ball, as I did.
Agreed.
So the question is, how are you going to countermove that reality? Like for me, what I actually did was I understood how character was a big thing in business and just in life.
Yeah.
And so I began to look at it whenever that's why I like Robert Kraft and some other people as well, Bob Johnson as well. It was more of, okay, if someone has a high character, they're going to breed high value. And when you breed high value, you'll never be broke ever again because you're presenting value, and money chases value. And so I began just to pursue how to cultivate a high character and then also how to present value to the masses. Because I knew when I did that, I never broke ever again. It's been working for me ever since.
It's awesome. We've always wondered, actually, I think Mo and I, how old are you?
43.
43? Okay. We figured you were right around 40. So, and I think it's awesome what you've done. So you started investing in your 24, you said, right? It's awesome. Yeah, it always bothers me when I look at people out there like the Oprahs of the world that have made over $1 billion, and they are consistently talking about oppression. It's just like any kind of motivational speaking. The more you talk about, and yet there's no doubt that there's issues, 100% that have unfortunately, you look at the black community in the 80s and what happened to it, and it's governmental based. But if you continue to harp on that and say that it's hopeless and say that you need somebody else's help to do something, you're never going to get anywhere. Oprah is the perfect example of a black woman that literally could teach her methods instead of saying it's unfair.
Yeah, that's why I like people like there's a young brother by the name of Brian Adamson.
Yeah.
He's out of Detroit. He and I own a lot of apartment complexes together. He's a real estate mogul, as I am. Patrick David is another guy. He's a guy from a different country.
Yeah.
You can go, Matt Sapala is another guy. Deontay Ford is another guy. Deontay's story is ridiculous, where he started from and where he is now. These are all minority individuals. My partner, Jahendra Raja, he's from Pakistan.
Say that 5 times.
We secured $1.5 billion worth of a bond to invest in real estate and other stuff. This is a 43-year-old man. But it all tracks back to, are you presenting value? If you are, you will never be broke ever again. Stop trying to chase money, and money will chase you if you present value.
I love that statement. Can you further it? By presenting value, what do you mean?
What that means is business is all about solving problems, whether it's government or business, private. It's about how to make someone's life better. So how do you do that? You have to present value. I have to understand, okay, what's important to Russo? What's your struggle? What is the pain point? Once I understand what the pain point is, I can properly prescribe a solution to address the pain. We kind of falling in love with just bandages.
Yeah.
And which didn't make any sense to me at all. Doctors examine the wound before they prescribe a solution. We jump to trying to prescribe a solution, but we have not examined the wound yet. So what I'm saying is, if you want to begin to present value, properly examine the room so you understand what the need really is.
I dig that. So we're going to get into the current state of the economy, and I want to talk about how you ran for politics, how you ran for Texas, because I think that's important to see to start taking action. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your run. Let's go ahead and throw out that your campaign.
That's me. You see that name?
That's a good logo too.
No, because it's my name.
Good font, good everything.
Yeah,
good
because it's my name.
Yeah, okay. I heard you the first 32 times.
My man, you hear it?
All right, so tell us why did you end up running for local for
Well,
local
for
election?
me, my whole thing is I saw where we were going as a country and as a state, to be honest with you. And I have two little girls. And so at 14 and 9, and I said, wait a minute, how am I setting them up besides money? How am I setting them up to be able to be successful in life while I'm here and when I'm gone, if I leave the earth before they do? And I just said, I don't see a lot of value or kingdom principles actually being infused into government, even from a financial standpoint. So I said, it's time for me to kind of jump into the fray a little bit.
When you say kingdom principles, what do you mean by it?
Values,
Got it.
things like
Values
that.
of God, values of the kingdom of God.
Yeah, stuff like that. But the thing about it is people actually they actually want those kingdom principles: love, patience, value, stuff like that. They actually want those. And in government, as you can see, it's really not about serving the people. It's really about serving themselves.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of that, and I said, I can't stand with this.
You know, being at CPAC a couple weeks ago now, when I was at CPAC, that was my biggest takeaway was the people there. As it is, and I think that they try to go to that we the people thing because the people really do. They want love, they want kindness, they want to be decent.
Sure.
I forget. I've been to Trump rallies before.
Yeah.
When you go to these places, the reason why he did so well is because being with those people make you feel better.
Sure.
Everybody's so kind. Everybody is gracious. Even the volunteers, they're like can't pass without a smile. It's a different kind of people, and I would challenge. I would love to go to a Democratic convention.
Sure.
I would love to go to a Biden rally. No such thing. But I would love, I mean, a Biden meetup, maybe like 37 people. But I would love to see the kind of people there and to see if they're the same positive energy. I don't think it is.
I'm going to try to go to a Democrat convention just to see how it is.
Got it.
I think it's important, no matter what side of you're on, is to go to the other side and see what's going on and say, hey, let me not listen through a filter. Let me go see for myself. Not my former campaign manager actually went to the Texas Democrat convention, and I said, man, how was it, man? He said, I didn't hear a lot of solutions.
Yeah.
It was a lot of bashing and things of that nature. He said, and I was there because he's currently negotiating with one of the candidates when it comes to one of the businesses that he's actually going to acquire. I said, no, that's fine. But he said he was actually speaking there at the Democrat convention for Texas, and he said there was really no solutions. And I said, okay, that's great. And again, trust Grant. Grant's a good guy.
Yeah.
But I said, let me see it for myself.
Yeah.
See it for
No,
myself.
if you go, I would love to get some footage.
Yeah.
You know, send it to me because my CPAC complained a lot too.
Yeah, they did.
Obviously.
Yeah, they did.
But they usually, when they did it, they said, here's the problem. We have to get rid of this to fix it. Is that a perfect way? No. But here's what I assume, based on a feeling as a past Democrat, as somebody it's still considered, I consider myself constitutional liberal. What I would assume that I see there is bashing of the individuals in the Republican Party. CPAC bashed the politics of the Democratic Party. That is very different. I'm okay with that. When I was liberal, when I was younger, I remember that I met a girl. I think I might have told you this on the show. I met a girl that I was like, oh, cool. And then I see her bumper sticker, and she had a Bush bumper sticker.
Yeah.
And I disliked her for it.
Why?
Because I was a Democrat. But I'm saying that's the thing. I think that party currently, and for the last several years, 20 years even, I think it's gotten worse and worse, they demonize the leader of the parties, and then they also demonize the people that are in that party, whereas the Republican Party hates those leaders, and we're open to Democrats being our friends until they essentially demonize us.
Sure. The ideology or philosophy drives the person.
Yeah.
So before you begin to character assassinate someone, look at their thought process. I would say address that issue first.
Yeah.
And if they don't change, then you say, unfortunately, you should be nowhere near power because of the fact that you've shown me your character.
Yeah.
Your character is you think that your way is the only way. You think you want to reason together.
Right.
So unfortunately, you should be nowhere near power.
Right, which is actually what I like about, and I'm not a reflection of Trump. What I like about this new MAGA party, which I think is a faction of the Republican Party. I think that includes a lot of the new people coming through, because I think that they are. If somebody would have told you or me that you go to a CPAC, a conservative action group event, and they're going to bash Bush, Cheney, and the establishment Republicans, if we'd have said that 10 years ago, they would have been like, you're insane. And now I think we've evolved into the previous Republicans were not perfect, and nobody's perfect, but I think that there is a massive amount of change that needs to happen. The question becomes, will these three parties, will the fact that we've factioned the Republican Party, will that hurt in the general election?
Sure.
You think
Well, I think that if the Republican Party doesn't have a great message on how to solve people's problems, you won't see any type of change at all. If all you hear is the Democrats are bad and this, we'll take back the House, and my whole thing is how. Like I was talking with Congressman Babin out of Houston, wonderful guy.
Yep.
And I just said, man, I'm looking for three things out of a politician.
Yeah.
Number one, character.
Is that Where were you with Babbitt at the...
That's it. Congress Babin.
And Baby MAGA, there you
and
go.
Baby MAGA there as well.
So three things you want out of a politician.
Number one, character.
Yep.
If you don't have any character or values, I can't rock with you.
Yeah.
Number two, you have to have some type of financial IQ.
Yep.
I am tired of politicians that don't know how to read a balance sheet or income statement.
Yeah.
And number three, I would say, also you have to be willing to negotiate. If you can't do those three things, get the hell out.
Yeah.
You're worthless. I'm sorry. You're taking someone else's seat that can be more effective, because government and business is about solving problems.
Yeah.
If you don't have the skills to solve the problems, why are you there?
So let's go to number two, because I like you said that, because right now, from a financial standpoint in the economy, and we're going to get into whether or not we're in a recession or not in a little bit, bring up the balance, the income statement. I think you have up there balance.
Yeah.
So you're trying to educate. This is not something that they need to go to school for. They don't need to be, but it's the basics of understanding how finances work. So break down essentially what's on here.
Well, it's simple. You actually have two different type of balance sheets. Typically, what happens is they believe on the right you have someone has a salary, and then you have the expenses, and they have a list of the expenses. The salary comes in, and it also pays the liabilities at the bottom, and it goes right back out. You see what happens there? On the left side, you have the assets. The assets generate an income, which you see there. They have those expenses. What's happening is that the assets are paying for the expenses and the liabilities. The assets, not the salary. Does that make some sense? So therefore, for instance, if Russo has a job at said organization, and you're making $100,000 a year, and that salary is paying for your expenses and your liabilities, what happens if you lose the salary? Those expenses are still there.
Then they keep stacking up.
Exactly. Now, what if Russo actually had maybe a salary, which is fine, but his salary is not paying for the expenses, his assets is.
Yeah.
So your real estate, your stock investments, your dividends there, any business that you own outside as well, they're generating an income, and those incomes are paying for your liabilities and your expenses. Well, you can stack your salary, can't you?
So is this the way of essentially making us more of a independent, financially independent, whether it's local or regional or state level?
That is correct.
Got it.
If you have assets paying for your expenses and your liabilities, you're more financially healthy. You can borrow more. You can help more.
So each state has a GDP, obviously,
Yes.
as well. So it's essentially finding a way to, because if you looked at and you don't need to bring it back up, but if you look at the top, one was how the middle class lives on the right, and one was how rich people live.
That is
and
correct.
essentially, we need to start having government officials that understand we need to find a way to run our municipalities, our state, our cities, like rich people do, with passive income coming in and finding a way to keep it going, instead of, which is, I would say most parts of this country, including major cities, they're essentially living paycheck to paycheck.
That's correct.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I like the way you break that down.
Yeah,
That was really
appreciate
good.
you, man. Appreciate you, man. Hope it was simple.
Oh, it was super simple. So before we get off you running for politics, a lot of people don't know this. I can't, if somebody asked me the question, I would probably fumble through it and create like a circle back answer. What is the major difference between state politics and federal politics? When you said you ran for Texas House, that's very different than running for the House of Representatives in D.C.
Yeah. Well, the Texas House governs everything for the state of Texas. That's it. Yeah. The Texas has a Senate and a Texas House. I ran for Texas House, District 70. It's kind of the same structure as the U.S. federal system, same structure. But the Texas House is what actually runs everything for Texas. So therefore, there's a budget that the federal government then gives to the states, and the states then divvy those funds out.
Yeah.
Well, the Texas House governs those type of things. The House and the Senate does. So it's the same thing as the U.S. House and U.S. Senate, but just for the states. That's it.
So essentially,
Same thing.
You like the word kingdom. So the major kingdom
Yeah.
and then the state underneath it.
That's correct.
There are some kingdom rules that go
Yeah.
into it and funding from the kingdom, but the state governs itself, and that's the Constitution.
Exactly. We should be a state-run union,
Right.
not a federal union.
What was do you remember, this reminds me of the woman that was in Virginia, D.C. She was the twerker, the one that did the twerking.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank on her name. The twerking thing wasn't my biggest issue. I wasn't, honestly, if you catch a congressperson twerking, I don't care. The fact that she videoed it herself and used it as a campaign ad, I got a problem with that. But
Me too.
whatever. The big issue that I had is when she was addressing some of the hateful comments, she replied back because somebody said like something about the United States of America. And she said, I don't work for the USA. America does not represent me. I am a state senator. That could have been the dumbest thing I've ever. If anybody has any brain, because just because you're local, say you won, and you're representing the Texas House, you're still representing the
Yes.
United States of America.
That is correct. You're spot on.
She went to, I believe, an Ivy League school. The fact that couldn't just, that little clip isn't enough to get her from never winning again is mind-boggling, because people still don't understand anything about politics, and they're okay with that. To me, that would be a deal breaker. I'd be like, you can't represent anything in this union.
That shows me the moral decline. So therefore, my whole thing is you should be nowhere near power.
Agreed.
No one. If you're unfortunately twerking as a campaign, they're saying go vote for so and so something. How does that propel the generation after you forward? What value does that bring to the stage? None.
Yeah.
So that didn't help me at all. But unfortunately, you kind of see that the moral decline of our nation until you begin to address the morality.
Yeah.
You will never see change, ever.
And honestly, from a day-to-day life perspective, the local is the biggest thing. We got a picture of you with Chris Hill, I believe.
Oh,
if we
yeah.
can throw that up.
My
So
man.
with Chris Hill, what did you learn from him? And then also, how did it end up turning out? It was the primary. I know you didn't win, but
I
were you
didn't win.
close? Are you thinking about doing it again?
Well, what happened in the race, I won't diverge right now. It's a big old thing. Those that close to me know exactly what actually happened, and I'll let you know. But as far as Chris Hill, he's probably one of the most high-integrity politicians I've ever met in my life. What he says he's going to do,
He does.
he'll actually do. And if you don't understand something, Russo, he'll say, hey, let's meet. Let's meet and let's sit down and let's walk through what's going on. I have never met a politician do that at all, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
That's how high integrity it is. And he's always accessible. He gives you wise counsel. When I actually was kind of thinking about running, he was one of the guys that was giving me a lot of wise counsel on what to do and what not to do. And he was spot on 1,000%.
And you have
wise man.
You have something called Wise Counsel. What is Wise Counsel? I'll never do shit.
Well, wise counsel is what I kind of coined is, and that comes from the Bible. Is the Bible says you should always seek wise counsel, those that can show you the logs in your eyes. And so I don't think that I know everything. I haven't grown in love with my opinion. That's terrible. If I don't know something, I'm very quick to say, hey, I don't know what this is. Another wise guy counsel that I actually go to is a guy called my rich dad, Presley Swaggerty. He was my former high school basketball coach. He went from driving a beat-up Mazda truck. I mean, he's trying to find money to eat. This is the high school basketball coach. Now he's making about $400,000 a month residually.
Real estate?
No, network marketing.
No kidding.
Yes, he's killing it.
Yep. See?
Yeah.
bluntforce.mymonate.com. Let's see. We're gonna come right back with the Don't Get the Shot seat from Artist Labs. Honestly, you're gonna like this whiskey more than you think. I almost
Really?
lost my balance and I haven't even had a drink yet. I'm gonna give myself a super small sip. I've got an 11-hour drive after this, but I like to have a little taste of it with you, and we gotta do a little cheers. So this is Bondbreaker. Bondbreaker, if you're watching, we still would love to have you as a sponsor of the.
Hey, Bond. Come on, Bond, man, get it, man. Come on, brother. Come on, sponsor the show, big dog.
Thank you for the bottle.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
All right, so first off, the Don't Get the Shot seat. It's from the drartistshow.com or Artist Labs, but the website is thedrartistshow.com. Use BFD for 10% off. We had Dr. Artist on the show. We talked a lot about his belief system on remdesivir, the vaccine, all the stuff that's out there. And I'm going to tell you, in CPAC, I don't know if you watched any of the medical stuff, Malone, McCullough talking about the vaccine. Holy nuggets. Anyways, and I love the fact that Trump stopped talking about the vaccine. If I say it one more time, Beetlejuice shows up, and I'll probably never have a show again. But he's got a lot of great products. Doc's Viral Defense is one of them. You've got Selenium. These are some of he's got protocols, which if you email me at bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com, protocols for if you're feeling sick, if you're traveling a lot, if you're a little bit scared of COVID, vitamin C stuff, apple peptin, which is a really, really good thing if you've had the jibbity jab and you want to fliggity flush it out of the system. Was that? Did I sound hip hop?
No, you sound 1980s.
Yeah, I sounded terrible. But if you guys want to check it out, please, honestly, go to thedrartishow.com. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see all the products down there. Use BFT for 10% off. I can help guide you on different stuff, especially if you are asymptomatic or symptomatic from the jab. So that's a little bit of info for you. All right, let's start the shot seat. First off, let's try it out. Take a shot.
Okay, I'll try it out. Ain't bad.
It is not. It's got a sweet little flavor to it, like a little lemon peel. So we had the girl I had clear in the chamber in, her name Jera last week, and she's a whiskey person. We had hers, typical whiskey bite, and then we had this. I just really.
I buy this.
It's under $40 too.
What you say?
It's Bond Breaker. It is a very sippable whiskey.
Hey man, Bond, bro. I buy this, brother, if you sponsor the show. Mm-hmm.
See that? Write that down. Write that down. Okay.
Always close them.
So if it's an uncomfortable question or if you just feel like drinking, you take it. It's a little bit of fun, though. Is there a bad time to invest in real estate?
It depends on your strategy. It all goes back to your strategy. I make money in up or down economies. And so, for instance, right now, is it a proper time to flip? Probably not. Not saying that you can't, but it's probably going to be a little bit more of a difficult flipping scenario.
Got it.
For me, and also if you flip, old Uncle Sam is going to want his piece of the pie. And for me, if you ain't did none of the work, well, I'm going to share in the profits with you.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I buy a property below wholesale, increase the value via renovation or construction, and then refinance to a longer term debt, which is great for me, I'd much rather take all that cash home tax-free versus share it with someone that didn't do any of the work, right?
Absolutely. Brilliant.
That's what I would do. So it really depends on your strategy.
You just had that on flow, too. It just came out. It was like buttery, silky smooth. Can you bring up the picture from CPAC with Baby Maga in it? The one, what was that one called? Yes.
Brown Babin, yeah.
All right. Honest question. Mm-hmm. Can anybody pull off skinny sweatpants like you do right now?
No, it's me. Enough said. I'm tight. You know what I'm talking about?
I have one pair of skinny sweatpants. My girlfriend says if I ever wear them again.
Take the picture and give it to your mama and them. Now holla at your partner.
I had to ask a question because I saw it. I was like,
yes,
somehow you make it dressy.
I know.
Found a way to do it. Are they for everyone though?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
What's your favorite financial movie? Like, Wolf of Wall Street level, stuff like that.
Inside Job.
Inside Job.
Yeah, that's that was done by Matt Damon.
How old is that?
I think it was done back in 2012. It was about the 2008 debacle.
Oh, there was a couple movies made about the Inside Job.
It was a documentary. It was.
Oh, it's a documentary.
Yeah, it talked about mortgage-backed securities and how AIG did what they did. I studied that. That's how I really got hip to the whole system. I said, "Oh, I see what's going on."
All right. I like that. Now I got a new movie. I got to make sure I check it out if I haven't watched it.
I'll send it to you.
What is holding back Black Americans more than anything else?
The lack of financial IQ. That's it. If you can begin to transform your mentality and begin to be a conqueror and not operate like you've been conquered, or that someone may owe you something, even though they may, you then actually have all the power. You have control to what you want to do.
Yeah.
So therefore, did I begin behind? Sure, that didn't stop me though. I called it the counter move. What's your counter move?
Got it. Are we in a recession right now? We'll make it a longer answer later, but are we in a recession right now? Yes.
Yes, it's the technical definition of it. When you begin changing definitions, you got a problem. It's a character issue now.
Yeah.
Character issue, yeah.
Got it. Last question for the Artist Labs Don't Get the Shot seat. Mm-hmm. Is social media positive or is it the end of our society?
It depends on how you use it. It's the intention.
How
behind
we're
it.
using it right now.
That's a personal question. If you are using it as the end all be all, you're probably going to get duped. But if you're using it as a resource and not your source, then that's the proper balance, is what I believe.
I'm going to follow it up. You answered it more micro. Let's bring it back macro. Over the umbrella view, the bird's eye view of how it's being used as a population right now. Is it a positive, or is it the end of our society as we know it, or is it somewhere in the middle?
Whoo. Okay, I had a question like this here. Is it a positive? No. I think at times we spend too much time on it. Mm-hmm. I think people get a lot of their news through that. Now, on the flip side, I would say, can it be beneficial still? Sure, because a lot of the proper news comes through that lens, so to speak, because you can't be everywhere all the time. So you have to begin to lean upon platforms itself. And so that's kind of, I would say, the kind of restructure, we're kind of in the middle a little bit.
All right, I'll take that. That was the Don't Get the Shot, Shotzi from Artist Labs.
Yes.
I have a feeling the price might go up eventually.
Hey, man. Hey, come on now, bond breaker, man. I buy it if you're the
It's Randy Rogers whiskey. I mean, he's conservative.
Randy.
Bring it.
Randy, bring it, bro. Stop playing.
All right. How's the end of my drinking? I had a long day. I'm going rodeoing. I'm gonna be gone for 16 days, man.
Yes, sir.
Did you catch any of the clips with Kelly and I doing this show?
I did, man. I was going to tell you, I enjoyed the show, man. You guys are a hoot, man. You guys are a hoot, man.
We need reality TV. So she the other night, I go, God, this is one of those. There has to be a camera on. So I park her truck in the garage, and I parked it about this far from the wall.
Yeah.
And she had and we don't drink much at all. Mm-hmm. She had one drink. We had been driving a far way, whatever. I think she had a drink. Maybe she was just tired. Mm-hmm. She opens the door, and it's fully 180 or 90 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And it bangs into the thing. She didn't do it hard. It just slowly opened. And she goes, why did you park so close? I can't get any further away.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sir, man.
It's like this when she knows it. It's just she's a riot. Anyways, we're meeting up later today about 11 hours.
Good, man.
Let's talk about our current situation. Let's follow up with the are we in a recession right now? And I'm going to state my thoughts. If you would have asked me the question 2 weeks ago, even before those numbers come out, I would have been like, no doubt. Look at what's going on. Look at the prices. Look at how people are living paycheck to paycheck. Look at the percentages. I don't know. I feel like something shifted this last week. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I think we need to go through a recession right now and don't force feed numbers to self-correct. But I think the drop in gas prices, which are still bad.
Sure.
The jobs report was decent, and I know that can be slightly manipulated. Mm-hmm. Stock market has balanced out a little bit. To me, it's like we're on life support before we hit the recession. I thought we were already in it. I don't know if we necessarily are right now, even though the GDP is down two quarters. The technical definition does not always exactly mirror the sentiment of the country. You could say, Are we in a recession? Yes, technically we are. Are we fully in it yet? I don't know yet. What are your thoughts?
Well, I look at the response of those that are putting out the information over this administration. When you begin changing definitions, that shows me something. So I say, okay, why are you changing definitions? If we're not there, why do anything at all? Number two, they pointed to the jobs report. Okay, that's a great number, but then I'm a definitions guy, I'm a terms guy, financial. Yeah. That's what I kind of build upon. And the Federal Reserve Chairman came out and said that they actually expanded their balance sheet. What are they doing? Well, they are originating bonds, okay, and then they're taking it over to the Treasury, and the Treasury is writing a bad check for those bonds, and there's nothing there. And then what's happening is the Federal Reserve Bank is then buying those bonds themselves. What business produces a product or service and then buys the same product or service from themselves?
A non-successful business.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so that's not successful at all. Now, why would they do that for? Well, number one,
stop the bleeding.
Yes, but remember when it came to the Federal Reserve, any central banker they incorporate 2 to 3% inflation on an annual basis.
Yeah,
they do that. So that you may say, well, Dale, how did I not feel that inflation over the years? Good question. they were able to trade those dollars away via countries buying our bonds, our debt. Who are the two biggest buyers of our debt? Number one is Japan. Number two is China. Guess who's not buying our debt anymore?
China.
Number one, China.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe Japan is as well also.
Really? Okay.
So therefore, who has to step in? The Federal Bank Reserve. So what they're doing is that they're increasing their balance sheet by buying these so-called bonds, which is the definition of what? Inflation.
Yeah. And a fluffer. We're essentially fluffing too
So you see a lot of fake success in the market.
right now. So it's temporary. And that's how much time do we got on the Webeam? Where are we at? Okay, we got a couple minutes. So I wish I could remember because I've been trying to find it. I don't remember what show it was on, but I heard a guy talking about why we do need to get to a 10% interest rate on homes. It's not going to be pretty.
No.
It's going to hurt, but it will allow for a full correction. If we do what we're doing right now, and he called it right before I'm seeing all these things happen. He's like, we do that now, we're going to soften the blow for 2 years, and we're going to have a crappy economy for 10 to 15, 20, which is what I said by going from a Trump to a Biden administration. I said, we're going to take what Trump did, which was a little bit dangerous, and we're going to throw ice water on it. And we, as a lot of people know in the stock market, and I'm sure you do, there's never been a 20-year gap where the stocks were lower than they were before that. Other countries, that doesn't speak for China, that doesn't speak for Russia or UK, any of that. Sometimes they flatline for 20 years. Yeah. We're the only country, our stocks are the only ones that have always had growth from the top of the 20-year period to the bottom 20 years later. It's always higher.
That's correct.
I had a feeling that this ice bath of the Biden administration has an ability to make that null and void and to make that no longer a thing. And I think that based on the way that we are inflating things now, if this continues and if the red wave doesn't happen and it stays blue and we keep piddle-patting around and doing these bills like the anti-inflation bill, I think we're going to see decades of American ruin.
If I call it the Inflation Production Act because there's no reduction going on.
Right.
When you do the exact same thing that's causing inflation, what's your think's going to happen? More inflation. So that's why I'm a principles guy.
Yeah.
I always say when you hear the jobs report, that means nothing to me.
Yeah.
What are you doing at the foundational level? I'm looking at that level. That's how you know who's spending and who is not. Simple. Ain't hard.
So we're gonna let's start with the Bidenflation. Let me know when we got less than a minute. Actually, let's go before we go on the Bidenflation because I know we're pretty close at this point. How if people are just watching the 58-minute version on Webeam, how do people find what you're doing? I know there's the 316 Capital and all that. So how do we find what you're doing?
You can actually go. I'm on all social media platforms. My first and last name. Just put it in, and I'm there. You can go to 316capital.com. That's my company.
Yep.
That's my real estate company as well. We all actually also going to drop a real estate investment course as well. That'll be coming out. That's called the Cash.
Can I get that for free? Just kidding. Okay.
Well, I actually am going to scholarship 5 people. Actually, going to be 4 because the first one is going to be my nephew.
I don't need a scholarship.
So it's all good, man.
I'll support you. Because we want to get Kelly and I want to get back into real estate.
Good,
so that's good.
Good stuff. Yeah,
it's a hard time. It's a hard time, I think, for real estate with not having the right capital to start. But I'm sure you guys have ways of getting into it.
Oh yeah, simple.
For those of you guys watching on Webeam, we've got definitely at least 10, 15 minutes left. And we got some more topics we have to cover, Bidenflation being one of them. So you can find us on youtube.com/C/ what's the name of the show? Blunt Force Discussion. Holy Nuggets. I was about to say truth and say free. youtube.com/C/ Blunt Force Discussion. Also, if you like the gear, I'm wearing the Make America Think Again shirt on this one. And also the Awake Not Woke hats, Unvaccinated Lives Matter, all this stuff. Go to awakenotwokestore.com, awake for 15% off. And please support us on Patreon. I didn't say this in the beginning. You've made it this far. You've made it 15 minutes. You have to like us at this point. We need as much help as we can get. This is not a cheap show to put together, and I've done a lot of work like a lot of people have, but, help us out.
He needs your money.
We need your money. Patreon.com/Blunt Force Discussion. Thank you, Webeam, for joining. We'll be right back. Bidenflation. Let's throw up this graphic because it's a perfect example. Explain what we're looking at on this.
You're saying it gives you a time from July 2020 to July 2021. So there's an equal time frame. It's letting you know how much gas has risen, engines risen, fuel oil has risen, used cars, food, clothing, you name it. It's letting you know how much has actually risen. That's called inflation. I knew this was going to happen because what candidate Biden said on the campaign trail, and then what actually happened when his energy secretary said what they were going to do, which is mirrored the exact same thing what the candidate Biden said, and what he's doing when it comes to his policies. I got to give it to him. His promises made, promises kept. I got to give it to him. I'm like, he killing it when it comes to his agenda. He really is. And so I'm not surprised at all. Now, I was told I was fear-mongering. We have a big enough GDP. And I just said, unfortunately, guys, you got to learn by experience.
Yeah.
Because I'm going by definitions, principles. I saw it coming.
And inflation was going to, I mean, after COVID, after all that, inflation was bound to happen.
Sure.
But not at the level that we're seeing. It would, if Trump was still in, we would have had inflation right now.
Sure,
Let's be
of course.
very clear. We printed a lot of money. And for those that all said, like, oh, if you don't support the check that Biden's writing, then why are you taking it? I'm like, well, because that $1,400 is going to be me paying $5,000 in the next year. So I'm going to take the money that they've already outprinted. That's why I accept
Get this,
it.
the last 24 to 36 months, the U.S. has printed 40% of this nation's entire currency for its entire history. 40%. That bleeds into the Trump administration as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is just not a Democrat issue. Now, the policies have it kind of accelerated that. But don't get it twisted. Republicans like to spend too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think it's just gone crazy. And I think it's hilarious when you've got a president because we do not control the gas price. You shared a great video. I've seen him. Was it yesterday or today? Who was that guy? It was an old video.
It was, you talking about the one with Officer Tatum interviewing somebody?
No, it's an older guy talking about how inflation works.
That's Milton Friedman.
Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect explanation. The government, it controls inflation, and you can circle it back to today. It's not Putin. Yeah. There's a war, there's effects. There's also some of the greatest financial successes we've had in this country have been based off of wars because whatever.
That's correct.
There is no way to think that this is another country's fault. Correct? It's our fault.
No way at all. What you hear a lot of talking points is that they're talking about the effect, which is international, of a domestic cause and effect. You can't address the issue until you address the cause. The cause was originated here domestically. It's simple. Principles, guys. It's not really hard.
Not hard to understand.
No.
And we're going through it. And so I think the inflation, what is it at now? 9.2% or something?
It's actually higher than that. But
well, no, that's what I was going to say. That what they say is there's in no world is it 9%.
No.
So I looked at the consumer goods index. I learned a little bit about that, and they take it off of like the 300,000 different items out there, but they don't weigh the fact that the ones that have the highest inflation rates are the ones we buy every week.
Yep.
Like the milks and the eggs and the different stuff. So what if you were to give a ballpark, and we're not going to hold you to it, what do you think?
15%.
15? I actually think it's even higher.
It may be. I'm trying to be as conservative as I can. 15%.
And gas prices have gone down a little bit this month.
It's gone down because the demand is going down.
Right.
It's not because of anything that Biden has done.
What do you, if you were to look into the future for economically in the next 6 months, what do you see across the board in terms of being balls deep in recession, or do you think that we're still where we're at now?
Balls deep.
Yeah.
I anticipate it's going to get worse.
I agree.
Because they just passed this Inflation Production Act. That's going to, that's more printing.
But it will be greener.
But it's going nowhere.
I'm kidding.
It's like, you can print money, but where is it generating production?
Right.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
It's simple.
I see some positives in terms of there's going to be green jobs, but it doesn't matter because it's still the amount of jobs and the amount of creation that it's going to have is going to still be less than the amount of money that we're losing.
So what I hear a lot of the administration saying is this: we're going to transition to green energy. My next question is transition to what?
Yeah.
Where are we going to?
Yeah.
You are curtailing all of the oil and gas industry.
Right.
And there's
How
a supply.
did Manchin be okay with this? He's from coal capital of the country.
Well, what Manchin did was Manchin's up for election in the next 2 years. He's praying that they forget about it. That's all it is.
Yeah, because he's got a 2-year window.
2-year window. That's all he's doing. It was a dog and pony show. That's all it was.
Can I think about this? So here's my problem. Everybody's like, red wave, red wave, red wave. And I talked about this. I felt like a fortune teller. I talked about the fact that we'll probably have a red wave. The danger is I would have almost rather have seen a slow bleed and 4 years where we are in this position going into 2024. It happened way too damn fast. The problem with this now is I don't think it's salvageable in a year to year and a half. I think it's going to take a lot of policy changes to rewrite it, and we're going to have to go through the periods of negative and bad. And the media is going to do a great job painting it as, well, you blame the left, and they're going to blame it on the right, and it's going to be hard to have the branches going into 2024. Do you see that being a problem?
Yeah. If the Republicans don't have a message on how to solve problems, you will see very little change. In order for it to shock, because there's one thing I have to give to the Democrats. They're committed to the message.
Their marketing is on
really are, and they're willing to lose seats to get a message. Notice how they began to try to accelerate this agenda in the first 2 years. They have in their calculations, we're going to lose a lot of seats, guys. That's what happened when it came to Obama. The same thing. We're going to lose a lot of seats here, guys. They knew about the ACA. They knew about that. But they're willing to go down with the ship. They really are.
Yeah.
Republicans, man, what they do is they'll give you lip service and get you going emotionally. The Democrats do as well. But on the Republican side, I'm like, what is your message? So I'm talking to candidates, current congressmen, Senate. What is the plan? What are you going to do? And I tell everybody is ask tangible questions, specifics. Get out of this general talking points. I asked Congressman Babin, what are you going to do to curtail this oil and gas policies? It seems like there's a lot of power in the executive branch that they have when it comes to oil and gas. How can Congress countermove this? And he gave me an answer. Yeah. I said, okay, now I pressed him, okay, what did that look like?
Yeah.
Give me some specifics.
Paint the picture.
And so he began to give me some specifics. I said, okay. He said, we can take him to court. Take him to court soon. I said, so are you guys ready to really for a wave of lawsuits? Or are you just talking this talk?
Yeah.
I'm tired of the talk. The doing matters.
Yeah.
It matters. That's it.
I think one of the big things, and I fight it because I know what would help me, but I'm not every voter. Transparency would be huge. Saying, this is what I call this current administration is the gaslight administration. They will deflect everything. Politicians deflect. That's what they do.
All the time.
This administration has taken it to a whole new level. So having a little bit of transparency, will that hurt them or help them? I don't know. For me, I would love for them to come in and in January of next year be like, we're in a bad place and we're going to do everything we can. This is our plan. The Democrats put us in a bad spot. Talk a little bit of smack, but then move forward. Get away from it and say, this is the position we got put in. We are in a recession. Things are not good, and we are going to do the best we can to get it back on track. It's going to take time. 3 months goes down, 6 months goes down the line, and they say, it's still not turning around. This is what we're still changing. It's going to require this amount of time. The media won't cover it the correct way, obviously, but I think for those that can spread a message like we can on our micro influencers, I think it's important to be able to see that transparency with the American people has been gone forever, and I think that's the only major change that can be done right now.
I agree. I always ask politicians, those who are running for office, as well as those not. I was talking to Joe Collins last night. He's running for U.S. House.
I was watching a bit of that.
Great conversation with him. Pastor Brian Hawkins, he's running for U.S. Congress as well, also in California.
Joe Collins said one thing last night that I was like, it doesn't make any sense.
What's that?
The 50%. I think you might have seen me comment on it. I was watching for comments. He said why is it that who pays the highest tax rate? And he said the lower class, the ones that are using the bulk of the services, pay the highest tax rate because they're using the government assistance type services, so they pay 50%. That's not feasible. Like that's
No, I guess I missed that one.
he said that he goes it's 50. He goes then they pay the highest tax rate. Maybe it's 50%. I go if they could afford 50%, then they wouldn't be the lowest class. And
Exactly.
that is part of America. And it's not unfortunate. It's just we support those that are trying to make their way up.
Sure, that shows a lack of financial IQ.
That's what I heard on that last night.
And I'm like, bro, if you can't balance an income statement and balance sheet,
Yeah.
if you can't read those, get out the way.
Yeah.
Being a leader comes with a high cost. Are you willing to pay it? A leader has to be transparent.
Yeah.
A leader has to take the bullet, even when they didn't do anything about it at all, period.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to pay the cost? I would love for President Biden and his administration to come out and say, guys, hey, we thought this was going to work for us, guys. It did not work. We're here. We're gonna work closely with the Republican House and maybe the Republican Senate to right the ship, guys. Let's lean in together and reason together. All I've heard, unfortunately, from this administration is a lot of it's not my fault, not my fault. I said, you're not a leader.
Yeah. And
How can you take the
was
credit?
Trump too.
Of course, and that's Trump as well. But I'm talking about the current president right now. I'm tired of talking about the civilian called Trump.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the current president. And the same thing when it comes to the U.S. House and the Senate, the current one and the one coming soon. What are you doing?
Yeah.
If not, we got to get you out. It's simple. The doing matters.
Yeah.
I'm tired of talking. I can talk to myself.
Yeah, and again, I think it's regardless of me bringing up Trump, I think it's gotten worse. I mean,
Sure.
there's no doubt that and I'm not talking about the country getting worse. I'm talking about the messaging has gotten more and more lies.
Yeah.
And we're it's like that bad relationship where you've spun yourself into such a web. There's no way to get out. Like when you're looking the American people in the face. That's not really what a recession is. Like you've managed to
And
do
you have
some
the same guy in 2008 talking about the current definition of it. No, that's not what it is. I'm like, bro, we got you on the record.
And there's also the same president that says, I will take responsibility for everything. The buck stops here. He said these things. And there's blaming Putin for gas prices. It's mind-boggling.
If Trump, I don't want to talk about the man named Trump. But
we're about to talk about that's going to be my next question.
Okay.
So go ahead and talk Trump. Because I'll cue it. What's your current opinion on Trump?
He talks too much. His mouth gets him in trouble.
Yeah.
But Trump loves the name Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has been groomed to never concede. That's what he's been groomed to. I've read his books.
Yeah.
That's what he's been groomed to do. I think he was a great executor, but his execution got overshadowed with his mouth. You can't badmouth your colleagues and want them to be alongside you to help you go get the victory. That didn't make any sense. That's not a leader at all.
No.
Period. So that's why DeSantis to me is a better pick because he can execute well and he can control his mouth.
Agreed.
If Trump would just get in there, man, shut up and execute. I'm not saying that you can't defend yourself. Not at all, period. But allow for your people to do that. And then once in a while you could do it too, no problem with it at all. But stop originating crises with your mouth. Shut up.
I wish it was part of his brand to admit, like, again, what I wanted out of him was if you could just have a little bit of humility when there's mistakes. That when that whole buck stops here with the leadership, there was a couple opportunities where it's like, bro, this was on you a little bit. Just say it. And it's unfortunately, it's against his brand and it's some of his base. His base loves the fact that he will never admit when he's wrong. There's a lot of people like that in this world, and I think they resonate with that. It's unfortunate because if he did, to me, it wouldn't be that. That's why there was so much division in this country. I still don't know who I'm going to vote for anymore. I mean, from the primary, I'm going to swing DeSantis. I know he just won the straw poll. Trump did, but
by a big margin.
Well, he was the keynote speaker, and it's just that's the crowd. I also have heard that everybody's like, it's DeSantis, and DeSantis is MAGA. To say like I
don't get into it,
yeah. But he even kind of talks like him. He's got mannerisms, but everybody's like, well, DeSantis Trump card would be great. Apparently, they're from people I know that know they're not talking. They're not friendly with each other right now.
Well, because of the fact that I think that they have two different agendas right now.
Yeah.
DeSantis is running Florida, and I think he's doing pretty well at doing it, really, to be honest with you. Trump he's outside trying to be a kingmaker. Mm-hmm. And to me, he's more powerful being a kingmaker.
Agreed.
So be the kingmaker.
Who would he king? DeSantis?
Yes.
And then who would you say would be the potentials for vice?
Nome could be another one. Christy Nome.
Okay.
That's a one.
Where's she out of? Is she out of Idaho?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. I knew it was one. South Dakota.
Is it South
the-
Dakota? One of the
there,
Dakota.
yeah.
One of the Dakotas.
Where it's cold.
You could look at maybe a Tim Scott is another guy.
I like Tim Scott. Like I remember when I started liking him, like SUNY, and then they're like, I hate Tim Scott.
Tim Scott is he's stoic.
Yeah.
He does not. He's not very vocal with addressing issues. He's really tight-lipped, and I think that's the problem with him, so to speak. But a vice president is good at that. Mike Pence was a vice president.
Yeah.
He's a lot. I think he was a lot better than Kamala Harris was. That's for sure.
That's not saying.
I would say maybe a DeSantis and who else was out there? I don't know.
I was liking Rand Paul for a while, but I just don't think he's even going to get in the run. I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to be up there for it because obviously they got to start campaigning. I think there's a lot of great people. Somebody asked me about Lauren Boebert, but she's too young.
Too young,
and she's got some checkered past right now with her husband and the issues that can go away after time. I mean, God, look at Biden. 20 years later, people forgot that he was a cheater.
I know about her husband.
Her husband has some cases where he exposed himself to like a 17-year-old or something, but it's older. And then I think she might have beat him up like 10 years ago. But she's young. She's 35. I think that can go away with time. The thing that the reason why I bring up the VP is that Trump is sharp as a tack still, in my opinion.
He is.
But he is 5, 4, whatever. He's getting up there, and things can change. So the Democrats are going to run hard on what happens if he goes. And if he's got a weak VP, it's going to be that Sarah Palin treatment. So I do think it's incredibly important, whoever he does select it, as somebody that the country can believe in as a rightful second.
Well, you can tell the Democrats are really running against him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it be a nice little kind of movie? He says, I endorse DeSantis. And I'll say, what the? Yeah, gotcha.
Little Barry Sanders action?
A little bit.
Little juke and
jive. A little bit,
yeah. We're almost wrapped up. I want to obviously get into everything that you do, but the one question, as somebody right now, we're all paycheck to paycheck right now. 50% of the country's paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. Or more, I think it just jumped up. Not in a recession, though. What do you suggest for those that are, they can't find an extra $4,000 to put together or whatever it might be, or maybe not at this point, but maybe you set a goal for them. What would you tell people living paycheck to paycheck to start getting involved in investing and what they should do first, their first steps?
It's time to find a side hustle. It's time to begin to learn how to originate assets, whether it be real estate. I think network marketing is a great business model to invest in because it teaches you business principles.
Let's further this. And because Kelly and I were having a little thing, I was like, Monate's giving me a great opportunity. First off, they're helping the show. They're giving me a little bit of money to keep the show going, as well as having the products. My hair looks phenomenal. She's like, Anthony, but it's a network marketing company.
Sure.
Why? And she's like, you're above that. And I go, why am I above that? I go, first off, I have a great opportunity to do something where they've kind of blessed me with the ability to kind of circumvent. I'm friends with the number 3 in charge of a network marketing company. That's a good start.
It is.
So is there anything, a lot of people poo-poo multi-level and all that. Why do you think it's good?
Well, because it teaches you business skills. It teaches you how to market, how to present, how to research, how to sell, how to overcome objections. Mm-hmm. Teaches you business skills generate cash. Skills do that, and you want to plug into a model that can actually teach you that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm a big proponent of network marketing.
And I avoided network marketing because of my previous businesses because I needed to be the person that everybody wanted to pick up the phone with. And I know sometimes network marketing could be like, oh, it's asking about this again. But you know what? We lost a lot of friends with being a conservative, pundit, essentially. I don't really care. And honestly, we've got a great following that fits that brand. And I don't think it's I've seen way too many people make way too much money for it to be something that's.
Think about it. My rich dad, and I know a lot of multimillionaires.
Yeah.
There's more millionaires in network marketing than any industry on the planet.
There's more millionaires in Monate's network marketing system than any of the other systems. They've only been around for 8 years. Fun fact. Sorry.
Yeah. It's when your rich dad is netting $400,000 a month net. Now I see the checks. Now I do quite well.
Yeah.
He does well as well also.
Yeah.
And I can call Presley Swackett and say, hey, coach, hey, dad, hey, I got a question about XYZ. What you got? And they're on speed dial.
Yeah.
This man has been in my life since I was in high school. And I've saw him going from dead broke. I mean,
Is he still
broke.
teaching?
No.
No. Maybe it's a passion. I don't know.
No, not at all. He's teaching people how to become financially independent.
That's awesome.
So that is what he does now, and he's doing quite well. And this is residual.
Can you say what brand he works or what?
He works for a company called ACN now. ACN now they just launched a health insurance thing now.
Oh, nice. Oh, I know they have multiple stuff. ACN.
They do, but the big wig now and their stuff now is what they call health sharing.
Okay.
It's a counter move to health insurance.
Got it.
And I tell you what, man, people are saving $1,000, $2,000 a month.
Wow.
In health insurance with the same coverage.
Interesting.
Same coverage.
It's
crazy.
When you, like Patriot Mobile, I probably have one of their people on. I asked them how it worked. Same thing. It's essentially like they buy it wholesale, and they're like, we don't need as big of a cut. We just make it leaner. See how much money these companies like AT&T and Verizon are
they're
making?
killing it.
And they're making even more because now they get a wholesale.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a great answer. That network marketing. Find a side hustle.
Side hustle, and I know people that have asked me to develop a real estate investment course, and I'm about 30 days of getting done with that. We're actually making an app so you can listen to it on the go, which is fine. We have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Yeah.
Or you can pay a monthly fee and get access to everything. We're going to have a VIP section as well. Every month we're going to do like a VIP, a webinar. You can ask us questions. We even fund the deals.
Yeah.
If it makes sense, we'll fund them, which is great. How good could it be for you to actually get the education and the money to buy your real estate there in the same place?
If you've presented the right ideas.
Same thing. And also, we're going to give you wise counsel. Don't structure this way, structure this way.
Yeah.
This is the reason why. You get access.
Do you have a name? Do you name for the app yet, or name
It's going to be called the Cash Flow Club.
the Cash Flow Club?
Yeah.
So coming soon, one of the new sponsors of the show is going to be the Cash Flow Club. We'll have an affiliate set up for that.
ABC, always be closing. Huh?
All right, last thing, my man. It was a great talk. I think this is the most educational show we've had, obviously. So I like that. Also motivates me to continue to make sure I'm working.
For sure.
And I'm definitely interested in still talking more real estate stuff.
Sure.
So we talked about 316 Capital, where people can find you there. You've dealt with, you have the Counter Move podcast. We have the green, did we talk about green energy? Was that part of the podcast? Is that
that's coming out on Thursday. Last 2 weeks ago, I actually did the podcast on the current Biden policies on oil and gas. We walked through candidate Biden, current administration, and what he's done. Articles, everything, out of their own mouths.
Wow.
That's why I say promises made, promises kept. To be honest with you, this is what it is. You can go watch it on YouTube right there.
Yeah.
And on Instagram.
You know what that's like? That's like a dude telling a girl, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not the right dude for you. I'm going to treat you like crap. And then the girl's like, oh, I fell for him. And then he treated me like crap. You saw it coming.
You saw it.
We knew that he was going to be a playboy.
Yeah, promises made, promises kept, baby. I'm like, he killing the game right now. I got to give it to him 1,000%. So anybody that's mad and you voted for him, this is what he said he was going to do. Why are you surprised? I mean, I got people in my family. I'm upset about the gas prices. I'm like, I am thoroughly confused right now. This is what he said he was going to do. I mean, here it is. And they're like, I didn't think about that. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, you're bad. On this one, it's going to be transition. You hear the word transition over to green energy. Transition. My thing is transition to what?
Yeah.
What's in place? We're going to walk through what's in place. It's going to be a very short podcast.
Yeah.
We're short, because it's nothing.
It's an idea in place.
Yes, it's an idea.
I agree. I think, and I always hear the conservative sides, green energy is awesome. And I would love for us to move to clean energy.
Yes.
But we can't just pull the Band-Aid off. You can't pull the Band-Aid off of a gunshot wound.
You can't.
Like, we have used one thing for so long that's working.
Yeah.
May not be great, but let's be clear.
Yeah.
Lithium mines are not great either. This is not overly environmentally friendly.
No.
So you've got that. You've got wind, great wind. Do you know how many damn windmills you need to equal the same as what we're doing? And they're not in place. Solar is not in place, but we want to transition.
You can't
we're taking 10 years. People don't understand. 10 years is a blink in the eye of
Let me ask you a question. What business model has the federal government invested in and it's become successful? Your silence is deafening. Zero. Not one. And so why are we depending on them to make this right? I don't know what to say.
Make it make sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. So you got that, your Real Estate Friday training podcast. Is that, what is that?
Every Friday we do real estate training. Myself and Cliff Hunter is my head GC and appraiser of our firm. We go over
general contract.
General contract. There you go. And what we do is we take a subject like we did one last week on a rental analysis, how to pull rental analysis, how to know if you should buy a property, if you're going to buy and hold it. So we walked through the whole process. The previous one we went through how to read a contract. Mm-hmm. People don't know how to read contracts. It's crazy. So we're talking to the audience like they're dumb, and they're not dumb, but we're talking to them from an elementary standpoint of, hey, A, B, C. We're gonna begin with A first.
Yeah.
And so every Friday at 5 p.m. we do Real Estate Live.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
So you've got the Counter Move podcast on Thursdays.
Uh-huh.
You've got the Real Estate Live on Fridays.
Uh-huh.
And then they can find you on any social media platform.
Any social media platform.
How do you spell your name for them? Because I know it's not.
LAD as in dog, ALE, B as in boy, UGGS.
Got it. Okay. And then final words for people. We talked a lot about real estate. We talked about the economy.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of positivity, a little pep talk for people.
I would say this here. We also do on Sundays at about 7, we do also a Bible Talk Chop session. We talk about life, marriage, things of that nature from a biblical perspective. And I would always say this here. If you are looking to get ahead in life, learn how to present value. Understand how to refine your character, okay? Be a character-minded person. And then learn how to present value. You will never be broke ever again. Very simple.
Doing my best to create value here. Thank you guys for joining. As always, I know the WeBeamers sometimes stick around. I don't know how long they're on. Thank you very much for being a part of Blunt Force Discussion. Again, if you like all of our gear, go to awakenotwokestore.com. I'm not going to do the My Patriot Supply full thing, but again, if you guys are looking for that, I think their thing is save $50 off a 4-week kit instead of the $150 off 3 months for August. So, and it's the end of August right now when you're watching this. Preparewithbtc.com. Again, that's preparewithbtc.com. Aside from that, guys, I love the conversations we've continued to have. Each week we're getting better and better and better. And it's fascinating. We have so many people that are willing to have a really hard conversation, and I do encourage those from the left. If you would like to, if there is somebody, and I'm going to be doing some digitals, thank God, with that. If you know people that are willing to have a conversation, maybe Texas-based or even digitally, send them over. You can go to questions for bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com. Again, bluntforcediscussion@gmail.com. If you have questions about Monate, if you've got questions about anything that we do, or if you have questions from some of our guests, I'll forward them over to you. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Instagram as well, where we chop these up into fun little clips. It's easy to find Blunt Force Discussion on there. And then, lastly, of course, our Patreon. Patreon.com, Joe, with the
send him some money.
Yeah, we need some money. Patreon.com/Blunt Force Discussion. Thank you all for being a part of the show.